all the Murphys.
Go for them.
Somebody even not like a turkey.
I'ma go hard.
Hey, follow me now. I'm gonna say go hard. Somebody hard, me, I go.
From you say hard, me go hard and done with the big money clip like the Kyle can't done. You see the black diamond for me neck a long down. A 5 times you know what kind of money run. Yeah. From you say hard, me go hard and done with the big money clip like the Kyle can't done. You see the black diamond for me neck a long down. A 5 pint you know what kind of money
Me
run.
make this if we chop them some, me chop them like a cold jelly. Them don't ready with all medi, yo don't penny. My flow steady, my dose penny is so many. Blink frozery, no rosary. Them know me lyrics stinker than dead body when the cross smelly. Man full of y'all, how many? Can't check it. So many them lost in a me touch, me can't find them in a me bowl buried. Me girl them act like Yendi belly, flat like them have no belly. Them see Marshall Ice, right like them a looking at us go telly.
I'm Wendy Ambrose.
And I'm Judah Garcia.
And welcome to Do You TV.
Definitely. This week, we got some pretty sober topics this week. This episode is about domestic violence. Don't touch that dial. Please stay with us. We got a very touching story, and it'll definitely raise awareness on domestic violence. Check it out.
And Kareem Bashment Eugene.
Bashment.
And to my left, we also have Katisha Isles.
So, Katisha, you were speaking a little bit about your home experience with domestic violence. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. In 2009, I almost lost my mom to domestic violence. My mom went out to the club. I can never forget it. She went out with her girlfriends, and she texted me in the morning that I was tired, have my bed ready, I'm ready to crash. I said, okay, no problem. We came outside, and it was an argument. And I do what every time the argument, I do what I always do. Pick up her stuff, carry it inside the house. She went into the truck, and after that, I haven't saw my mom. She left. I couldn't call because I had her cell phone. I started to panic. I'm calling everybody that I know, calling. I was like, have anybody heard, seen anything? Didn't hear anything. I met her best friend on the road, and I was like, have you seen mommy? He took mommy. I don't know where mommy is. She's like, okay, but I know a couple of spots they go to when they need to talk, and I'm gonna go with her. I said, okay. At the time, my little brother was in the house sleeping. He was there with his best friend. I woke his best friend up. I was like, listen, I'm about to leave the house. Don't open the door. They have stuff for y'all to eat, but make sure y'all stay inside. I went looking for my mom. I called my godfather, Officer Cornelius. And I said, hey, Daddy, you know where mommy is? He was like, there's been an accident. My mom is in the hospital. I was like, oh, God. And went to the hospital. I was 16, 17 at the time. I didn't have a license. I drove to the hospital. Saw him there. Saw blood in his shirt. I was like, God, don't let it be him. Went into the ER. Someone was covered in blood. That was the hardest thing for me to see. And she's just there crying, saying sorry over and over and over. And I just watch her, hold her hands, everything will be alright. Then leave. Her best friend was there, her other friends was there, and like, she will be alright. And he was there. And all he could have said was, what are you doing here? And I was like, really, what are you doing here? My mother is here. She's in a hospital. And asking me, what are you doing here? It was kind of an out of body, in a body experience. And I snapped. Like I lost it. I lost my cool.
Did you feel a lot of resentment towards yourself
supposed to hate, but I felt a lot. A lot.
Did you ever feel any resentment towards your mom for staying in that situation for so long?
Yes, sir. Because, yes, we told her so much times to get out. We could move to the States, we could start fresh, you know. Let me just pick up and go. And she always tell me, you know, it's love. You know, not all the time it was bad. We did have good times, we had great times, yes, but at the end of the day, it's like, how much more you gonna take?
I remember when you filled my heart with joy. Was I blind to the truth? Just there to fill the space, 'cause now you have no interest in anything that I have to say. I've allowed you to make me feel. I feel so dumb. What kind of fool am I? You so easily set me aside. You made a fool of me. Tell me why. You say that you don't care, but we made love. Tell me why. You made a fool of me. You made a fool of me.
And backtracking just a little bit, I'm sorry to cut you off. What actually happened? Did they get in a, were they fighting and they got in an accident?
He was upset due to the fact that my mom was out, you know, and he dragged her on the highway. He was in a truck, and he was like, you know, he was so like a Jekyll and Mr.
Dragging.
Yeah, he dragged.
He dragged her into the car.
Well, at the beginning, it was my mom when he was like, you know what, come in the truck, we stood on the top. He never said anything about leaving the premises. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna just sit down in the truck, because she was in heels all night, and it was like, okay, something comfortable, sit down. And he left. The door was open. When he bent the corner, the door just slammed closed. So I thought like, oh crap, I'm gonna jump out the car. So when I left and I went looking for her, my mind did tell me at the time, go on the highway. But I didn't follow my mind. I went the opposite way. And sometimes I blame myself, because if I had followed my mind and I did went on the highway, maybe I could have been there to prevent some of the stuff that did happen. He was screaming, I'm gonna kill you. After telling you nobody not gonna see you. And as any parent, the first thing you gonna think of is your kids. And she thought about me and my little brother, and she was like, you know, well, if I jump out, I could still have some life to live for my kids. He was doing like about almost close to 100 miles per hour in his car. And when you driving that fast to open a door, the wind gonna be mostly closing the door shut and you fighting to open it. So she's fighting to open the door. When she's fighting to open it, she's like, okay, if I could get my lower part out of the car, maybe the rest of my body would just slip out of his hands and I could just tuck and roll and run to the nearest help. Apparently it didn't work out that way. Normally any calming person would say, okay, hold up. You trying to hop out the car. Let me mash brakes and you could hop out. He didn't do that. He kept driving. And her lower half is at the bottom of the car hitting the road. Just hitting. And it's the force and the speed of the car just doing damage on her lower part of her body until she just scooped her whole left side off from her butt, go straight down to her ankle. So it was crazy how all of that happened.
So incredible scene that you just described. So how has that affected your mom now that she still has injuries from that?
She does. She has almost 100 surgeries on her foot. It seems that much. The ankle was damaged due to the accident. She walks, but she lives her life in pain. You know, I laugh in pain, cry in pain, sleep, wake up, pain. So it's hard for me as her child to see her in such pain every day. You know, now and again I'll make jokes just to say, if you want me to cut off my leg, I can give it to you. It's no problem. And you know, she'd be like, you know, if that was only possible. I know my mom wants to do stuff anybody else wants to do, but it's hard.
So now, tell me this. We'll come back to you, Bash. In your situation, you got a whole different perspective looking at it, and you looked at it from an outside angle. What has it looked like from the outside looking in, as far as domestic abuse, domestic violence?
Well, personally, I never really experienced domestic violence, but to me, any other person, you'll think why is that person inside of that situation? And especially if they're coming up to you and trying to talk to you about it, the most you can do is listen, because I actually have no advice about it because I never been in that situation. So the only thing I can do is actually be a listening ear and actually suggest different things. When I was in high school, one of my friends, she would constantly get beat up from her dad. So she would come and she would talk to me about it, and she talked to me about it so much that I could actually tell when she's getting abused. You can just see the look in her eyes. When everything is perfectly fine, she's smiling, she's happy, everything. But then when she got abused the day before and she comes to school the next day, it's her spirits dropped. It wasn't the whole fun, happy person that was there all the time. So the only thing I could actually do is just be a listening ear. And when I would suggest to go to the school counselor or go to women's coalition, different stuff like that, she would say no. And I really can't force myself upon it because I don't want to make the situation worse. Because I felt if I was to actually say, okay, I can call the women's coalition myself, and then for him to go to the house or whatever, and then she picks up her dad, then I don't feel like I wasted my efforts to actually try and help her, and she doesn't really want the help. And who knows, I could actually make the situation worse by me actually going and calling out for help.
So basically, we're saying it's that person themselves that has to stop the situation.
Exactly. They need to have the courage to actually stop the situation on their own, because if someone from the outside tries to help without the person wanting to help, it can actually make the situation worse. Because I felt if I was to actually do it and it didn't work, her father would be upset that she even came to me and telling me about the situation.
Right.
I might lash out on her more.
Right.
So
From a person that was on the inside, there was nothing wrong with it. It's nothing wrong in going. It's, yes, fighting back. That's the question everybody always says. Why you didn't fight back? You could have grabbed a knife and stabbed him in his leg, or you could have hit him with a frying pan, or you could have, or people have said, throw hot water on top of him. People also have to realize the fact that if I'm a skinny little. It's not always fighting back. You know, the person is stronger than you, sometimes faster than you, sometimes bigger than you. So even if you were supposed to say, you know, fight back, you go fight back, fighting back. You also have to realize that the fact of the matter is they have tried. They've been trying. They try and try and try, and at the end of the day, you have to realize that they are fighting back. They may not be fighting back in the way you want them to fight back, but they are fighting back. And sometimes the person is just too much for them.
You know, I've seen a situation where I actually jumped in to try and help a girl, and I didn't even really know the girl. She was actually being abused at that moment, at that time, and I jumped in it was actually on the side of the road, and I was with some friends, and I jumped in, and in stopping the dude from hitting her, she hit me with the crowbar from the car, with the little tire iron. She hit me with the tire iron in the back, saying leave him alone, because of course I stopped him, and I guess I stopped him in a way that she didn't like it, you know, of course, because I'm gonna bring you the hammer, you know what I'm saying, you over there hitting on a girl, but she jumped on and said leave him alone, leave him alone. So it's really, really a tricky situation. But I tell you what, if you're in a situation where you're confused, or you might not, you know it's not right, there's different things that you could do. Basically things like getting a bag that has copies of important documents. You put important documents, you put a bag with at least like two or three different pair of clothes, a sweater, different things like that. And it's just a bag, like an emergency bag. So when the pressure becomes overbearing and you can feel, or you have that sense like, you know what, today's going to be a bad day, I'm going to grab this bag, you know. And in that bag you want to have different things, emergency contact numbers. You call the Women's Coalition number. We have the Women's Coalition number. That's the number that you're seeing at the bottom that's up right now. Also, another thing is knowing who to call as far as friends and family, and knowing where to go. You know that, okay, you know what? He knows that I go by my mom's house all the time. So I'm not going to go by my mom's house. I'm going to go by my auntie's house when it gets bad, when, you know, crap hits the fan. So knowing where to go, there's always a way out. There's always a way out of the situation. When you feel it, it's one of the things to do is definitely prepare for it.
But then sometimes it's not really like the male, because so far like we've been talking about the male being physically abusive. Like I've seen plenty of situations where it's the female that actually initiated the action, and sometimes the male actually is defending himself. And like the society that we live in is like, okay, a male can hit a female,
You gotta take the slap.
Exactly. I've seen females like get really upset, like jealousy and stuff. Like they will just like lash out on the male and just like start to curse him and stuff like that, and just slap him. And as a human, there's only so much you can take. So like the male might not hit the female, but then the force that he's using, because he's naturally stronger than the female, it might seem like he's actually hitting her. But like, to me personally, it's really not just the male, it's the female too. So I think domestic violence goes both ways.
I agree.
It's just, it seems more devastating and violent when it's actually the male doing it to the female.
Right.
So you're a guy, and you know there's the factor of your ego that comes into play. Like, how do you get out of a situation like that? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I try not to get like into like personal situations and stuff like that. But then like to actually get out of the situation like that, it's just me personally. I'll just walk out. Like I won't want to hit the female. I won't want to get like physical. I won't like. Because as in a relationship, sometimes you tend to argue, but then like you don't want to like cross the line, because like there's always a line you cross before like someone actually gets hurt verbally or emotionally and different things like that. So to me, the best thing for a male to do is when a female like getting like physically violent or verbally violent is to just walk away, because eventually she'll cool down and then you can approach it again.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you can, it's like kind of funny.